Live. Hey, everybody, what is up? Thank you so much for being here on your Saturday morning. So, a week and a half ago, Eric was talking about coming up here and bringing his family, staying with us. We do some vacations and stuff together. We visit each other. We've become really close over the past number of years. We spend a lot of time together. We talk about a lot of things. But anyways, Eric had this idea. He's like, dude, if I'm coming up there, why don't we hop in the Movebees studio and just like go live, see what happens, just see if we can add some value, share some things that we know that are working for our companies. And man, let's just put this thing together and see how it goes. So we're super excited to be here. Again, thank you for being here with us. Tonight, we're going to shoot off a whole bunch of fireworks out at my house. We're going to grill a bunch of hot dogs. After this, we're going to go hang out by the pool. We finally got some good weather up here on the 4th of July. It was kind of rainy, whatnot. But today is like really going to be the day that we're going to celebrate and have a lot of fun. So, Eric, thank you for thinking about this. I'm pretty excited to be here this morning. So, all right. So we did a poll and we asked you guys, what do you want to hear about? Like, vote on some things and let us know what you want to hear. And you know what, it's interesting because they're exactly the things that we would really want to talk to you about. Like, so valuation is an area where a lot of moving companies are maybe a little bit confused about. They're not exactly sure how to sell it, what the process to sell it is. So we'll get into that. But when you talk about valuations, you really have to talk about your claims process too, because that's the back end. That's where you're going to, if you're going to make money on valuation, you also want to save money on claims. All right. So we're going to talk about that first. We're also going to talk a little bit about marketing sales, because that's another pair. The two really go hand in hand. And then also Eric and I had a conversation just a couple days ago that I think was really interesting, where I think a lot of us could probably pick up a little bit of revenue without really making much change at all in our businesses. So
yeah, because one of the other questions was, what are additional revenue opportunities? And what Tim and I are going to, there's so many we can talk about, but what Tim and I are going to talk about as far as additional revenue opportunities are, what are the easiest ones you guys can capitalize on now? And a lot of that has to do with the actual customers you're currently serving. So we're going to dive in a little bit of that, and it kind of goes hand in hand with, obviously, one would be upselling valuation, would be probably one of the easiest ones. We'll definitely dive into that and some other revenue opportunities about getting some money back that you might not realize you're losing on every job.
Yep. So we're not talking about reinventing the wheel. We're not talking about starting new businesses or things that you're not already doing. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into valuation. As we're talking about this a little bit, if you have questions, go ahead and post them. We've got Marcus and Nick over here. They're going to be going through the questions and kind of like feeding them to us. If I don't get to it right away, I will get to it as soon as I'm finishing like whatever, sentence or paragraph that I'm talking about. So, all right. So valuation. Again, a lot of companies really are not capitalizing on valuation. My companies right now, we just ran some reports, and 38% of our clients are purchasing valuation. How much valuation do you guys sell? Do you know?
Yeah, we're definitely up there. The biggest thing that we look at is valuation is a profit center for us. We make substantially more money in selling valuation than we actually do paying out in claims. And that's kind of the
100%.
That's kind of the kicker. And like one of the first, I remember one of the very first primary goals we had with that was, hey, let's just break even.
Yeah.
Let's just cover our claims with valuation sales. And like when we first started doing this years ago, and we always overachieve that goal. We always end up selling more valuation than the claims we brought in, and it can be a very great profit center. It can be anywhere to 3 to 5% of your revenue if you do it right. Out of all the revenue you bring in from the different services and you sell, moves, etc.
Yeah, so we're normally hovering between 2 and 3%. Valuation, just like you're saying, it easily covers paying out all my claims for the year. It covered having a third-party claim service, which we had for a lot of years. Now we have our own, but it covered the cost of that, and it still added bottom line money at the end of the year for us. So there's a couple different ways to sell valuation. I've done both both work really well. All right, so the first way is basically it's going to you set it up in your CRM, so it literally prints on every single bill of lading, every estimate. But here's the trick with that. All right, so your salespeople really have to be educated when they get to that line item, when they're going over the whole estimate for the customer. They really need to be able to explain what additional valuation is, why it's on there, what they get if a claim should happen. You know, like, hey, let's just be real. Sometimes things do get damaged. We move a lot of stuff, and if you want additional protection, that's why this is on here. If the customer doesn't want it, then you just waive it at that time, right? So you really shouldn't be losing jobs on it. I think a lot of times the reason companies don't do this is they're worried that, like, hey, it's already super competitive out there. If I'm putting in valuation, you know, right out front on, like, you know, just printing it right on the estimates, then my estimates are going to be too expensive and maybe I'm going to lose more jobs. But really, if your salesperson is educating the client on it, and then waiving it if they don't want it, or maybe offering a couple different deductible options. If they seem like maybe they wanted it, but it was too expensive, maybe offer them, you know, $100 off, you know, deductible, $250, $500. You know, you could do whatever you want with that. You can set that whole thing up. But that has worked really well for us. That's the process that we're using at my companies right now. And again, we're selling the most we've ever sold. 38% of our clients are taking valuation. How are you guys doing it right now?
So it's just like anything else you sell in any industry, any product, your sales team has to be educated on the product. Everyone in your company should be educated on what the product is. I see, you know, as well as you as myself, we really have our ear to the ground being involved in a lot of these networking groups, and a substantial amount of owners out there just don't understand the valuation process. They don't understand what it is. And then what I see is they're offering the, usually whether it's state regulated or federal regulated, they're offering the 60 cents per pound per article, and I know in some states they're offering the 30 cents per pound per article. And then they're treating a claim like they did offer full replacement value, you know, or replacement value. And we're just really educating the customer, understand the product. So like we actually build value proposition email campaigns. When we send out email campaigns that build value with our company in general, one of those is basically educating the customer on valuation. We're just having an educational aspect of it. It kind of explain like what's covered under what. Like for example, if you were to if there was a damage about to happen, like internally in a home or externally in a home, that would be covered under general liability. Valuation stems more from like the cargo side, things that you pack in boxes, the furniture you move, etc. And we also educate people, letting them know that, hey, valuation is not the same for insurance. Where the insurance company would come in on a claim as, for example, like an absolute catastrophe. Or internally at our company, we have like a threshold where we decide what we're going to handle in-house and what we turn over to insurance. And that might be different in every company. And that's changed at our company based on the size and our growth over the years. Like, so for example, we will handle everything internally in-house, $10,000 and less. We won't even entertain and turn a claim over to insurance unless it exceeds above $10,000. And sometimes we don't even do that. It's a case-by-case basis. And one of the reasons we do that is we're in a captive. It's like the next step to self-insure, but usually only very larger companies get involved in something like that. And most of us are in the traditional market. It's been a while, but like when we were in the traditional market, and I think our threshold was anything $5,000 and less, we would handle in-house. And that can also help you, just as a little side note, that can also help you in determining what your deductible is going to be, making that internal decision. And when you're getting traditional market rates, that because the higher deductible you choose with the company you go with, the most likely you lower your premium is going to be. Little side tip for you all that has nothing to do with this, but I just want to throw that out there. And then we educate the customer on that. Another thing that we do is we ask very simple, like open-ended questions. Like for example, for those who understand like full replacement value, usually it's a certain dollar amount per pound of the shipment. A very standard one on the federal side, as well as what's used what's used locally, is $6 a pound. Okay, so the CRM or anyone's CRM or any simple math, like if you do an estimate and the shipment comes back as 10,000 pounds, the standard full replacement value amount would be $60,000. And one of the things that we do, and I used to do, is say, hey, in case of the worst case scenario where there's a total loss of your shipment, is $60,000 going to be enough to cover replacing all your stuff?
Yeah.
You know, and the customer really starts thinking about that. And I remember 9 times out of 10, like, oh my God, no, that would not even come close to replacement. Here's an upsell opportunity, okay? Because the more valuation they get, the more you can charge. Well, what number would that be that you feel comfortable that would replace your shipment? Oh, at least $100,000. So now you just went from selling the base $60,000 for replacement value based on the customer's feedback to $100,000. And usually, and some states are different. Like, we're in a regulated state. So in my state, we can either offer a $0 or $300 deductible. Federal, it's across the board, depending on what your tariff is. On the federal level, for us, it's $0, $250, $500, and $1,000 deductible. And that's going to depend on what tariff you have on that. So it's more just education is what you're doing. You're kind of helping the customer walk through their own situation. At the same time, like, another upsell opportunity is what we call high value inventory. Okay. And high value inventory typically is like any item that exceeds $100 per pound. So for example, you get a $10,000 fine piece of art that weighs 2 pounds. That would be an example of something that's high value inventory. And in our company, we have a high value inventory like item list, okay? And the customer has to list these items and sign off on it, okay? And then they have to agree to pay the excess. So for example, high value inventory, whatever that total amount comes to, say you have like a total of 10 items and all 10 of those items combined equal, based on the value the customer's declaring, equal, say, $150,000, okay? And they have a 10,000 pound shipment. So remember what I said, the standard on a 10,000 pound shipment at $6 a pound would be $60,000. You add that high inventory valuation of 150 on top of that 60,000, and now you have $210,000 of total valuation for that shipment. And based on $210,000 now, here's the price you charge them. The caveat is if the customer refuses to pay that for high value inventory, that high value inventory automatically switches to the $6 a pound. And that's what you're selling on. So for example, if that 2 pound painting worth 10 grand gets damaged, you're only on the hook for $12.
Yep.
You know, and it's just little things like that. Have your broker, you get your insurance. When I learned about valuation, how this works, my broker agent taught me this stuff. They are extremely knowledgeable. They can help you with compliance. They can help you with how to explain this stuff. They can educate you on everything. Another thing too, I'll throw in since we're talking about the insurance side, and I know this wasn't asked, but it's a good time to throw it in, is that when you guys are trying to navigate, and we're talking about claims, when you guys are trying to navigate the claims process of what you want to turn over to insurance and what you want to do in-house, your traditional insurance companies are looking at a couple things. They're looking at claims frequency, how often are you filing claims, and they're looking at a percentage of premium. A good rule of thumb is you don't want to have the insurance companies pay out in excess of 40% of your premium, because that's how the insurance company makes money. So for example, we'll make nice simple numbers. If your total insurance premium is $100,000 and you exceed the insurance company paying out more than $40,000, and that's total claims across the board. That's cargo, that's auto liability, that's general liability, that's across the board, because you'll have a total combined premium. So the goal is that you want to try to come in every year 40% or less under the premium payout and claims. And that can also help you make internal decisions. And that's why we will handle so many claims in-house versus turnover insurance, because we all know in this market, your insurance premiums are going to go up every single year. There's nothing you can do about it, but there's a big difference between a 5 to 10% increase and a 25 to 40% increase in your premium. One way or another, they're going to get that money back. And back to the valuation side. So also too is that we have our claims manager. The sales reps try to push it. And then our claims manager makes an introductory call, has a script they follow. Like we actually have scripts just on valuation. Like I explained, we have the valuation emails, value building emails we send out, educating the customer. The sales rep re-educates the customer. When we do a final confirmation, the claims manager plays a part in that and basically introduces herself, making and she's like what we call in the sales side an authority. Since she is the claims manager, she's knowledgeable, she's specialized. I would suggest having the smartest person or the most knowledgeable person on claims in your company doing this. The owner should be doing this. If you don't know this as an owner, you should be learning this. As the saying goes, no one should ever know your business better than you do. So, and then we kind of run through the same valuation script, and you're just selling on education. You're kind of playing like, I hate to say like you're using fear, because the education side of itself kind of instills the fear. And when these customers are not stupid. Like everyone knows, like, even though valuation insurance are different, they're kind of handled the same way. And everybody knows, like, hey, if I get a car crash and all these different verticals, like I'm going to have this deductible on collision, this deductible on uninsured auto, etc. And you're just educating the customer. The education itself instills a little bit of fear, and that's going to help upsell them, and you're going to give peace of mind. And you're also going to let them know, one of the things we do too is that we also educate the customer, hey, if you still want to choose 60 cents per pound per article on the federal and our state side, or if you're in a state where it's unregulated or whatever you want to call it, whatever you dictate it, we are going to hold you 100% to the book on this, because we've given you every opportunity to sell or to choose a different a full replacement or replacement valuation option. Like you just be very upfront, and you just make sure that, like, cross your T's and dot your I's. You verbally have told this. You're having inbound and outbound calls on a recorded line, because you always want to have that ammunition. You have a paper trail. You have the valuation emails you've sent. You have the confirmation emails you've sent. So all this stuff. You have 5 to 7 different forms of call recordings and documentation covering your butt.
So that's a great segue to kind of another reason why we want to be selling valuation. It's a great revenue stream, but as Eric was saying, it's an opportunity to educate your customer, right? So either they're going to buy valuation or they're not, but during that process, they're going to get educated on, hey, if something does get damaged, this is how it's going to be handled. So when it comes time and something does get damaged and you have to have those conversations with your client, those conversations go much easier. Paying out the 60 cents per pound is not that big of a deal when you've taken the time to educate your customer on it. Now, I did say that there's a couple different ways to sell valuation. So the one that we just talked about, which we're using right now, is like, hey, we just put it on every single invoice. We educate the customer. We go for it. If they don't take it, we waive it. They've been educated. We're good. The old process that we used, which worked very well as well. It sounds like Eric's using a little bit of a hybrid maybe of this, because they're really kind of progressive in how they sell it. But the way that we used to sell it was we would have the claims department reach out to the customer about 24 to 48 hours before the move. And it would be kind of a move confirmation call, but it would really be claims calling and saying, hey, this is so-and-so at the claims department at Krupp Moving and Storage, and just wanted to reach out to you and go over a couple of things with you. And also just wanted to give you our number in case anything were to get damaged on your move. It's really important to us that we want to get it taken care of right away. So here's my phone number. By the way, I see that right now you don't have any additional evaluation. Do you mind if I go over a couple things with you? And at that point, she would go over the different rates, explain it to them, and then try to sell it. So it sounds like you guys sell it up front, and then you have some emails that go out, and then you try and sell it again kind of that way on the back, right?
We treat valuation or any upsells just like a follow-up process.
Yeah.
The sales reps try to do it. The move coordinators who confirm the move try to do it. And like when I talk about like the final confirmation, which is like 48 to 72 hours before the move, it's the irony that we're doing the same thing as you guys. The claims manager will get involved and kind of like also educate the customer. But the claims managers, y'all ever heard of an authority takeover in sales where the sales manager get involved or the owner gets involved and helps sales rep close a job. Same principle. The claims manager, who is like the expert in claims, is the authority. She's the last ditch effort. And the thing is that the majority of our valuation sales are actually, statistically for us internally, are sold more on the first confirmation call and on the claims manager authority takeover. They sell substantially more than what the sales reps do. And also what it also helps, and we were finding this too, is Tim brought up in the first time, hey, how sometimes when you put the valuation sales on the upfront estimate, it can inflate the cost of the move, and it has the visual perspective like, oh, this is way higher than my competitors. So, and we found that to be true. It actually makes it a lot easier for us when the sales, a lot of times on negotiation processes, like we can remove the valuation on the original estimate, and we're good at getting it back before the move actually happens.
Yeah, it's something you can play with.
And this is stuff that we've played with and tweaked. Like, guys, like Tim and I, we've tried things 15 different ways. We've made mistakes. We've had trial and error. So one of the things we're doing today is trying to share this experience with you all, so you can have a much easier path of getting this stuff dialed in. That was a lot that we went through a lot of pain to do. And that's the state of the market right now. Like there's no question that times are tough, there's no question, like you have to really sell today. You have to get maximum utilization at every lead you get, every job you get. The days of COVID and taking orders are done, and they're probably never coming back.
Yep. Hey, I want to mention something real quick too. Eric talked about a high value inventory form. Those are something you could just buy from Milburn Printing. So most of you, I think, have heard of that, but if not, just check out milburnprinting.com. They have all the different forms you need. Sean, you had a question. Sean McHugh, I think you had a question a few minutes back. It says, how vital do you feel complementing both selling valuation and a strong claim service to be? And I think it's vital to have both. All right. Because on one hand, you're selling valuation and you're going to make a little bit of extra revenue, right? And you're educating your customer. Now, on the back end, you need to have a good claims process to be able to process those claims efficiently. And a lot of times, especially in smaller moving companies, you have like the owner, or you have, the operations manager, handling claims. And especially if you're the owner and the customer's talking to you, you just get drugged through the coals, right? It's so hard to hold them to the 60 cents per pound. You always end up, paying out way too much. So it's really important to have somebody who understands the paperwork. They understand the law as far as like what we actually have to do, what we don't have to do, and can explain it really well to the customer. So you're not paying out too much on claims. A lot of companies are paying out, 3 to 5% in claims at the end of the year. And really that number should be, like under 3%. A lot of years we've gotten away with like, right around 1%. We have different branches that, it could be between 1 or 2%. But if you're just looking at the claims that we paid out, usually like 1 to 2%. But having somebody manage that for you, I think is huge. So the two go hand in hand. Make a couple percent a year on selling valuation, save a couple percent a year by having a dedicated claims person handling claims for you. So, and I'm just going to take this opportunity to let you know, if you don't know yet, Movebees has a claims service. It's subscription based. It's $399 a month. We went out and we did a nationwide search. We interviewed a ton of people to find this person. We hired a lady from one of a major van line agent that was probably doing over $30 million a year, and she handled all of their claims. Her name's Misty. She's fantastic. She's got a little bit of a Southern accent. She's from Tennessee. We really enjoy working with her, but she's cleaned up our claims. She's processing them fast. She's easy to work with. We'll create all the documents you need to be able to sell valuation. And if you do sign up and you're not sure about selling valuation yet, you think it's a little bit confusing, we'll spend a little bit of time with you and get you all the information that you need and consult you a little bit to be able to sell valuation, because really you want to be selling the valuation, educating the customer, have a great claims process. And right there, that could easily add 3 to 5% to your bottom line at the end of the year.
two other things, guys, you can do, or since we're talking about claim reduction as well. There's a lot of things you can do, but two simplistic things you can do that any company size. Incentivize your guys to get 5-star reviews, and make it and make the KPI bonus good enough that they're going to strive to do it all the time. That's been a huge. We've been doing that for years. That has been a huge deterrent in high claims, because when you have your crews out there incentivized on delivering 5-star experience on every move because they're getting rewarded for it, you'd be amazed at how consciously careful and how above and beyond. Also, too, really happy customers are less likely to be concerned about the little nick and ding here and there, versus because you all know, you get a customer, you piss the hell off, all of a sudden they find every single thing imaginable wrong. There's one thing right there. And then for people maybe at a little bit higher level, because I know this was a big challenge for me when I was small, incentivize your operations team on the cost of goods sold and the gross profit margin. And we have our claims tied into that. And we also have claims as a separate KPI. So Tim talked about less than 3%. For our ops team to get a bonus on claims, it has to be less than 2%. In my world, we consider the 2% of when claims is 2% of top line revenue. That's the objective. You want to be 2% or less. And they're and some people ask, well, what do I pay on these KPI bonuses? So you're going to determine that, but a good rule of thumb is you don't want to exceed paying out 25% of the total company reward. And what I mean by that, so for example, whatever the margin amount left over is okay. 75% of that goes to the company, 25% goes to that in KPI bonus. Does that make? I hope that makes sense to people. So for example, if the total savings on your goal with claims is 10 grand, and maybe you do that on a quarterly basis or whatever, 25% of that's going divided amongst the ops team, and 75% of that goes to the company, because you don't want to have the bonuses you pay out exceed the goal you're trying to achieve. And I've seen people get in trouble with that. So there's just two simple things right there you can do that can have a substantial impact on your damage claims. And remember what I was talking about earlier with our confirmation process and the claims manager introductory call. All these phone calls are being recorded. All this documentation is being signed. And I call this stuff, and a lot of people who know me well have heard me say this term hundreds of times. I call paperwork keeping honest people honest documentation. The phone call is being recorded, or is just keeping people honest. So I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, because if a customer says A happened, and then you have 7 different ways of proving that really A never happened, here's B, they become very reasonable and sometimes go away very quickly.
Nick, will you put up the last question from Doug Cronin? Well, I'm not sure this is really a question. Even if they declined the insurance, well, it's valuation, not insurance, and they know it's 60 cents per pound, it will not make them a happy client. So generally the way that it goes, most of the time you're not going to have clients who are really unhappy with the company because they were educated on the front end. They may not be that happy with the result. Of course, they wish they would have gotten more, but they understand, and that's at that point, that's what they signed up for, and that's why it's important to have this process. Now, are you going to run into situations where you have a client who is just not going to accept 60 cents per pound? They're just unreasonable. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to happen. And there's nothing that's telling you that you can't go a little bit over that. You could meet them in the middle, or, if it's going to take a little bit more to still get, a good review or whatnot, then you do it. But at the end of the day, when a customer signs off, if there's going to be any payout, they need to be signing, paperwork saying that they understand that this is satisfied, and that they're not going to be leaving, any, derogatory stuff on, digitally, online, no 1-star reviews or anything like that in order to get their payout. So everybody has to sign that waiver.
Yeah, it's called a non-disparage agreement.
Yeah. Nick, what was that other, can you throw that other question back up there for us as well? What formulas do you guys use for getting sales price on valuation? All right, so here's the deal. We talked about this a little bit. we don't want to dig super deep into that because it's different. Every state is a little bit different. Federal, Eric already went over a little bit, on that, but that is stuff that you could pull up on ChatGPT if you're looking for the formulas. If you're in, depending on what CRM you're in, most of them have a program in them where we work in smart moving. We love smart moving, but in smart moving, we're able to program it out and it computes for us. So we don't have to like do a bunch of math or anything like that. It automatically just prints on there.
Yeah, it's pretty simple for us in our state. Our state tells us what we're allowed to charge. So that's what
Tim and Eric, how important is the way you talk about this to the client? I saw Doug mention insurance, and as far as I'm aware, we're not selling insurance, we're selling valuation. Can you get into trouble by saying this is an insurance policy?
Yeah, you can. You can't say insurance. And the main reason is because, and Eric talked about this a little bit, but insurance companies moving companies reserve the right to self-insure. Right. So if you say insurance, that means like every claim is going to get turned into the insurance. And that's kind of like, and a lot of people are kind of hoping it gets turned into the insurance because, we all know that insurance generally pays out way too much money. It has to be called valuation. Now, when you sell it, you can say the word insurance because like that people instantly understand. Right. So if you say insurance, they're going to understand. All right. So when we're educating people, we say, additional valuation, which is like insurance, but we're not allowed to call it that because moving companies typically self-insure. So if we damage something, a lot of times we're just going to pay out of pocket and get you taken care of. That way you don't have to go through a whole insurance process and all that. So that's kind of like the verbiage or the word track that we would use for that.
Yeah, we're just basically valuation is basically insurance companies who write our policies giving us permission to self-insure internally, And there's ways you can spin that. Like you can sell I wouldn't call it selling. The reality is that a customer is better off dealing with us than dealing with some billion-dollar corporation. Let's be real. And then you can also use that. You can also use that to your benefit too. Like, hey, like when you're trying, if something happens, you're trying to negotiate. Hey, I just want you to know, like, I'm trying to work with you here, but if the minute we turn this over to insurance, it's going to be out of our hands. We no longer have any say, and we're probably a lot. It might actually end up being an outcome less than what I'm trying to offer you now. There are so many things you can take advantage of. So many things that are right in front of you if you know how to articulate it correctly and just put some thought behind it and just try some. And this is why it's good. This is why it's good when you talk about systemization and documentation. Like you should be scripting this stuff out. You should be role playing this. You should be having meetings about this stuff. Like there's so many things you can take advantage of that people just aren't taking advantage of.
Nick, will you throw that question back up real quick from Chris? I'm gonna read this and answer it the best we can. Chris Carter says we are at 0.75% no valuation. Selling though.
I think it means claims rate, 0.75%.
So, okay, 0.75 claims rate, no selling valuation though. If your guys drop a sofa and it's 100% your fault, how can you defend that it is your responsibility to fix? If it is our negligence or mistake, we fix. Minus high value, non-curated, and those choosing cheap protection. Balancing accountability and responsibility. Yes, please.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, that's an integrity thing. And guys, don't get it confused. Don't think that we do everything 100% by the book. I can't tell you how many times we've went beyond the book, take response. Just because legal documentation allows us to do something doesn't mean it's the right thing. Like for your example, 100% our negligence, we are 100% covering that. And don't like the phrase goes, don't step over dollars and pick up nickels. If I have a claim I'll make something up because this is stuff like this has happened. If we have a claim that's $100, okay, it's going to cost $100 to solve this issue, but through the contractual documentation, I only owe the customer $20. I'm going to pay them the $100. Try to turn them into a raving fan. At the same time, let them know that we're make sure that we're also controlling the message that we're going above and beyond. We have a lot of repeat referral customers. We get a lot of repeat referral customers that we've gotten out of handling claims the right way, or taking like ownership and accountability and integrity as a company and doing the right thing, even if we're not obligated to do the right thing based on what our contractual documentation is. So like, that's going to be an internal call for you. At the same time, like this goes back to, I want to pivot back to the 5-star review thing. At the same time, as I remember a gentleman brought up earlier about, well, what do we do about those customers that will never be happy? Yeah, I get it. We all start somewhere, and I can't tell you when I was newer how many times I had to let a customer take advantage of me because I may only have 50 reviews online. But the beautiful thing is you start getting that for claims reduction, you start getting like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews out there. And I'll be very, very frank about it. And you get one of them customers who's just trying to take advantage, rip you off, you can have them go fuck themselves. Because the reality is that their 1-star review ain't going to make a dent in that 4.9 reputation with over 1,000 5-star reviews.
And Chris, also you mentioned something about fixing things, and that's a piece we haven't really talked about as well. So a lot of times we reserve the right to fix things as opposed to just paying out, to replace it or whatnot. Having a network of repair people and being able to source them, especially if you're doing interstate all over the nation, is really important. So when you can fix something and save money, that's a great way to be able to go. So again, that's a really important piece of it.
The other caveat to that is that it's a lot easier to pay out a settlement than it is to organize repairs and manage vendors, et cetera. That's going to eat a lot of operational resources, and you pay those people money. So that's like kind of like unrecognized costs you're going to incur, because like unless you're tracking like every little moment of time they're spent on a claim. So like, for example, if you know it's going to cost $300 to repair something, offer them a $300 settlement. Hell, offer them a $350 settlement. I'd rather spend the extra $50 and not have to deal with probably the 4+ hours it's going to take coordinating, organizing, and managing a vendor. So we do. So now like Tim says, we have this black book of vendors that we work with as far as repair people, but the objective is always just to do a settlement first, because it's like a couple emails, conversation, write a check, you're done, versus like, I don't know, anyone who's went down the repair process, that can drag out forever and ever. And then sometimes you have vendors that don't show up. Anytime you deal with third party, anytime you get a third party of anything involved in a process, you're at the mercy of their schedule and whatever bottlenecks they may cause.
All right, so we're going to go ahead. If there's no more questions on valuation, we're going to switch gears for a second and just talk about a conversation that Eric and I had actually since he had been up here over the past couple of days. Oh wait,
there's one question.
Yeah, all right, we'll jump into this real quick. Do you put the valuation charge on local moves when quoting, or would you suggest leaving that off upon booking and look to upsell it once it's booked? Well, that's what we talked about. That's the two sides of the coin, really. Is so our current process right now is we put it right on the quote, educate the customer up front, and then they have the opportunity to waive it. Our old process was we would upsell it later on, like with a confirmation call. What Eric is doing really is the best of both worlds, and I'm actually going to take a look at my process right now. Is he does both. They try to sell it up front, and they sell it on the end. They try to sell it again on the back end. So I think really that's probably the best way to do it. I grew up in furniture retail, and in furniture we would sell like protection programs, which was like like an insurance program for your furniture. Covers rips, tears, burns, stains, anything that would happen. If your dog ate the couch, they would fix it or whatever. But when it came to selling that, they always said when the rep would come into your furniture store and teach us how to sell it, they would say sell early, sell often. Right. So you talk about it early in the sale, and then you talk about it often, and then you try and get it again on the close. So I think really the best process is both sell it in the beginning and sell it on the end. But play around with it. Eric and I both said that we've played around with it. We've kind of found what we think works best for us. But like we're always open-minded and willing. It's not a big deal for us to switch gears and to try something a little bit different with it.
Yeah, you're gonna have just like anything. You're gonna have sale, because like by all means, like we're paying. Like I don't need to ask him. I know he is. Like we're paying commission. That's part of the commission tier structure that the sales staff.
That's good. We should talk about that.
That's part of the commission tier structure the sales get. And like, for example, even the people, and this is about producing extra revenue opportunities for other staff members. Whoever sells that valuation during the process, three people have an opportunity to sell valuation at our company: the sales rep, the move coordinator, the claims manager. Whoever sells that valuation is getting the commission on that. Okay. And so some sales reps are better at than others. That's why I'm saying, that's why we have like those, I said, we treat valuation like selling, like the follow-up process. There's going to be 3 moments where someone's going to be trying to push that, and then just like a follow-up process works, the more times you engage and touch a customer, more likely you are to close them. So if we don't get it on the first try through the sales rep, we're going to try 2 more times. And a lot of times we eventually get it. At the same time, if the customer is still at this point, through all the education we've given them, all the documentation we've had them read and that they signed, all the calls we've had that we've recorded, if they're still not choosing this, if they're still not choosing valuation, they have a hard time coming back on us if something doesn't work out and causes a claim that's not our fault due to their negligence when they've refused it, 4 or 5 different times.
So Chris has another question here. He says, in sales, upsells, what % do you give you? So I'm assuming you're asking about like your salesperson when they do upsells. So since we're talking about valuation, I pay my salespeople 15% of valuation because I want them to be really aggressive in getting it. For a long time, it was kind of something that they weren't that great at. So we got serious about it. We got serious about educating them about it, making sure that they understood it, were comfortable selling it. And then we said, hey, you know what, by the way, we're going to pay you 15% of all the valuation that you sell. Go. And it's worked out really well for us.
And it goes back to what I said before. If you want to turn this into like a kind of a KPI bonus or whatever, like you never want the payout to exceed 25% of the goal. So I would never in a million years pay 25% out, but you could pay somebody 25% of the valuation sale and still make money on it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. We did for a long time. That was the deal
ours
that we
is
had
ours is less than Tim's, but I would say a sweet spot would be probably somewhere between 8 to 15%. What Tim's talking about. At the end of the day, it's whatever you want to do as a company. If you're paying out sales commission, make it easier on yourselves. Like if you internally, and what I mean by that, internally as a company, if you're paying, I don't know, call it 7% across the board to make processing payroll easier, just make it 7%. If you're paying 8% across the board, make it 8. You see where I'm going with that? Unless you're able to run reporting that you can have different tier structures of commission based on what they're selling. But I'm trying to, what I'm giving is just very easy solutions. Doesn't matter what company size you are. Let's just face it, like the bigger a company is, the more infrastructure, the more fancy, the more easier it is for them to do more fancier things than someone who's maybe like running a 2 to 4 truck operation.
All right. Chris Canellis has a question here. What is a good incentive for your movers to reward claim-free moves? So we do kind of I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Lewis's mover bonus points. So we have something like that that we do. So basically the movers get a point for every hour they work. And then at the end of, it used to be at the end of the month. We recently switched to the end of the week. So we pay out weekly now. At the end of the week, those points convert into dollars and they get that in a bonus. All right. So one of the things that's tied to that is claims. Sometimes it's isolated and guys can lose points for damages. Sometimes it's the whole team. So really, if it's going to be isolated, a guy would step forward and say, hey, look, I was carrying this. I dropped it. Nobody else was, it didn't have anything to do with anybody else. And we won't ding the whole team for it. But most of the time we try and hold the team accountable. So if things weren't padded right on the truck or whatever like that, then they would actually lose points. But we are incentivizing our guys to perform and to take good care of the client stuff.
Yeah, we on a quarterly basis, I think we're moving to monthly. The movers and drivers have scorecards. Everyone in your company should have some type of scorecard. And I couldn't tell you what's all on those scorecards. I know damages on that. Like I'm hands off my company. I'm not even the CEO. I'm just chairman of the board. So like I have a 10,000 foot view. I just know we run scorecards, and they're bonused on a quarterly basis. And damage claims at some capacity, amongst many other things, are on those mover and driver crew leader scorecards.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to this quick little side conversation that Eric and I had a couple days ago. He was really talking about, you know, a lot of us are running crew apps now, right? So we've got our CRM and then we're running the crew app. Where we used to run paper, you know, a lot of times the process when you're running paper was that, you know, at the end of the move, the guys would call in and the office would like help figure up the bill because you didn't really trust your movers to do it right because number one, they might be bad at math. Number two, they might be shortchanging the company hoping for like a bigger tip. But the crew apps have really gotten rid of a lot of that, right? So it's really, you know, it's much better. We don't have to worry about the math. In our crew app, you know, when the guys get to the customer's house, they just press start, right? And then at the end of the move, they press end, and then, you know, it calculates everything, and then they can collect. So really, you know, I've just kind of been thinking like, well, no matter what, you know, I'm paying the guys for, you know, whatever the customer pays for. So it's going to be, you know, it's always going to be fair, and I don't have to worry about the math. And I haven't really thought about this too much. I'm going to pass it to Eric here in 1 second, but here's the thing, is when the guys show up, if they're waiting to press the start button, right? If they're not pressing the start button at the right time and you have like a fixed travel fee, there's lost time there. And then say that the guys press end and they haven't like folded the pads and, you know, set up the truck and, you know, like completely finished all the work on the customer's time, and they press end. Hey, we could be missing out on 15, 20 minutes on, you know, every job. And you say, hey, well, I've got 3-5 jobs going a day. I've got 10 jobs going a day. I got 20 jobs going a day, times like 15 minutes or 20 minutes per job. That is revenue, right? So that's additional revenue that we are leaving on the table if we're not monitoring that, if we don't have a process. So Eric, will you tell us a little bit about your process, how you identified it, and what you're doing to make sure you guys are getting all of that revenue?
Yeah, the conversation that Tim and I had came about one of the poll questions that was very popular was, hey, what are additional revenue opportunities? And we were talking about earlier when we started this video. I said, well, let's talk about simplistic additional revenue opportunities. Let's talk about getting back revenue you might be losing with the moves you're actually doing. And it's funny because like this is actually a topic that was kind of brought up in the MCLU group that I actually chimed in on. And a real simple way is like you got to take away the controls, as many as possible, from your guys who are processing bills and doing start time and doing end time. There has to be a level of accountability, a level of controls, and plus it makes it easier on them too. Because all they got to do is concentrate on just doing a good move, you know, nothing more. So we don't let the guys clock in and clock out. Okay, the clock in time is when the truck arrived in the GPS time. And I think some crew apps actually have a GPS now. I don't want to paraphrase. I don't know. I don't even have a login number to our own dang CRM.
So you're pairing it with like your Samsara or something like that. You're checking the Samsara at the.
Well, we use Smart Movebees. So I don't know if Smart Movebees has a GPS or not. I have no idea. Anyway, regardless, is that so? Like we're comparing the clock in time to when the truck arrives, or for example, like when the job's done, when the clock out time ends, that truck better be driving away in 5 to 10 minutes. Mm. And okay. What you don't realize is that, and we'll use real simple numbers here, okay? Like a lot of us out here are getting close to $200 an hour for 2-minute truck, all right? But we'll use $100 for example, all right? So for every 15 minutes of uncollected bill time you're not getting that really you should be getting, that's $15. I'm sorry, that's for every hour of uncollected bill time you're not getting across however many jobs, it's $15 of gross profit. I'm sorry, of gross revenue. All right. And say your gross profit, and I heard the comment as well, if we don't bill for it, the guys aren't getting paid for it. Well, I understand that, but the guys aren't 100% of your job cost. So if you're running a gross profit margin of say like 60% or 50% or whatever that may be, hopefully it's somewhere in there, a gross profit margin, your cost of goods sold of 50, 60%. For every $15 they're not collecting, that's 50 to 60% of that $15 on a say like an hour job or an hour or whatever that the company's losing out on. Like we don't think you're special. Like we thought that's what happened to us, and we started. This is years ago. We started doing this. I could not tell you the amount of build time we were not collecting by letting the crews have control. Like for example, they arrive at 8:20 and they're starting the time at 8:30 versus the time should have been started at 8:15. Just an example. Nothing nefarious is happening. It's just like or they're not or for example, like they stop the clock at 5 p.m. but the truck left the customer's house at 5:45.
Yeah.
There's 45 minutes right there of lost time. So it was, and say you got like 10 jobs going a day, you're talking like tens of thousands of dollars you're losing like every month, tons of money every year. And Tim and I were having this conversation. Like, the cool thing about it is, here's a guy I highly respect that runs a mega operation who's now even going to start diving into it more on his own company. Because I told him, I said, hey, we weren't terminally unique. As much as we have things down and doing things right, this is a hole in our bucket that we found a long time ago. So if you want to start somewhere simple, like start looking at your truck GPS if you have one, or if you're if the CRM you're using on the tablets has a GPS, some type of like GPS timestamp, and start comparing to where like they actually arrive in the clock in time and when they actually leave in the clock out time. And I don't care who you are. I guarantee if you're not doing this now, I guarantee you're losing money.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. So just like real quick in my math in my head, I'm thinking for my companies, this is the equivalent of adding like a 5 or 6 hour job every day, like a cumulative, of those 15, 20 minutes, per job. So that's a lot of additional revenue. All right. So that was just a real quick side conversation we had. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Next, we're just going to get into sales and marketing a little bit. You guys got questions for sales and marketing? Start shooting them up there. We'll answer them the best that we can. So again, sales and marketing they're a marriage, right? So the two go hand in hand. If you're spending a ton of money on marketing, or you're spending any money on marketing, but you don't have a good sales process to handle the marketing, you're lighting dollars on fire, right? And we're wasting money and we're not maximizing, right? So it would even be better to spend a little bit less on advertising if you don't have a good sales process. So Eric, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about, marketing, choosing the right marketing sources, and how you would identify what you're going to spend money on and what KPIs you would be pulling to figure that out.
Oh, so I think a mistake a lot of people make is they don't have an overall big marketing budget. Like you come up with a marketing budget first, and then you're going to allocate that spend to different marketing sources.
That's right.
I think an average rule of thumb, that maybe it's changed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, it's like typically usually 7 to 10% of your gross revenue should be allocated towards marketing.
Yeah, so I would say like if you're a newer company and you're trying to get market share, it might be more like 7 to 10%. If you're in a market where you have to spend a lot of money on Yelp and a lot of money on digital, you might be 7 to 10%. We've always been more in the 5 to 7%, and that's worked well for us. I would spend more if I could, if it made sense.
Yeah,
but that's kind of where we've settled in.
And I know we hover around 5. So I was thinking like total average with the rule of thumb is usually like 7, but I can't remember.
5 to 7%. And like Eric was saying, it's really, if you just think about it as like a pie, and you're going to do $1 million a year, you want to advertise 7% of that, you want to take and you want to split up that pie and figure out like, hey, where do I want to be putting these dollars? Do I want to put, so I want to do, my mail campaign, and that's going to be how much, and how much do I have left over? And you start taking a look at the other resources that are available to you. So probably, the most important for us is going to be, our mail campaign. And then we're going to look at, some PPC stuff. There might be, Google local ads for you, and then you're getting into like purchase leads and things like that, or social media as well. And you want to figure out how you're going to split up that pie. Doug Crony's got a question. You want to throw that back up there, Nick? Is hiring a Google PPC professional worth it? Yes. So if you're going to do pay per click, you need a professional to manage it. Don't try and do it yourself. I would strongly suggest that you find one of the, the people who really specialize in our industry because they've spent a lot of time building out these campaigns. They know all the keywords that you want to be using. They want to know all the negative keywords. They've brought a lot of people's PPC, campaigns. They've watched them mature over time, and they know how to get you there faster. So I would highly suggest that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my perspective, I really don't like PPC. We do it. We do it the bare minimum. It's just like an extra thing to the net. In my market, there's traditional PPC campaigns, and you have what they call branded campaigns. It's basically running campaigns on your own name, so people can like advertise against your name. Say if like you're a hometown dominator, like you're going to start seeing this a ton. Like we get tons of people that run ads just on our name. So we run branding campaigns, but like 90% of our PPC leads come from branded in my market. So I don't like PPC. We turn it off when we can. Versus like in Tim's market, he has a little bit different outcomes. So it's going to be kind of different every market. Due to the state of affairs of the economy in our industry right now, everyone's just like has absolute desperation out there. PPC, at least what we've seen, has gotten so expensive for the reward you get versus like how it was a couple years ago, either how it was during COVID, how it was even pre-COVID. Like it's just like I'm open to being wrong, but from my perspective, what I'm seeing through the data is like, at least in my market, it's become garbage.
And that brings up a great point. So if you are doing pay-per-click, right? Pay-per-click is a little bit more tricky to track. And a lot of companies are spending a lot of money on it, and they don't really know the ROI on it. They don't know the return. You're just kind of going by gut on it. And it's hard to make a decision whether, do I keep it on? Do I throw more money at it? Or, you're looking at, cost per clicks and, those types of things. But really having a process to track it and to really know is super important.
Well, rather than us just talk about layman stuff, why don't there's two experts on this call right now that could definitely talk about PPC and some social digital.
Could you guys talk a little bit about tracking pay-per-click and what you think the best process for tracking it is, so people actually know their ROI on it?
Yeah, and tracking is super important. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know where you're going. This entire conversation has been, percentages and understanding where your dollar is going, where it's coming from. If you're spending marketing and you're not getting a return and you don't know that because you don't have the data, it's super important. So we recommend call tracking. We recommend UTM tracking. Every single part of your marketing campaign needs to have some kind of tracking inside of it. And we're kind of on the side of Eric when it comes to PPC. In a lot of markets, you have big, huge corporate entities that are bidding on these keywords. So you're bidding against people with huge bank accounts, right? Lots of business that, it's really hard to get because everyone's bidding that keyword up. So your cost for that per lead is super high. So we like to find ways to go around those super high cost marketing channels. And we do, direct marketing, outreach campaigns, different things that you can do at a lower cost that'll help you get that lead at a much lower per lead cost. So Marcus can talk a little bit about that as well.
Well, the supply is down. Like the keyword search volume is down. Not as many people are moving, and more movers are needing jobs. So they're all bidding for the same keywords. So it's raising the cost way up. So like in this type of economy, when PPC is very expensive, Yelp or whatever you're spending your money on, LSA ads, all that stuff is going up because all the movers need jobs, and there's not a lot of people looking for movers right now. So at this time, it's when you want to diversify into what Nick was talking about, more targeted brand awareness, outreach campaigns. And I think we'll be able to get into a little bit more of that a little bit later.
Okay. All right, great. I'll tell you guys a really easy way to track PPC if you're not tracking it currently. I assume most of you are using a VoIP, whether you're using Dialpad or Ring Central. What we do is we've gone in and we've created, a phone number just for PPC. And when we get a call that comes in from a PPC number, we're answering through our computers, right? So we get a pop-up that comes up when the phone rings, and it'll say the branch, and then it's a pay-per-click. So like the sales rep already knows that it's a pay-per-click phone call that is a pay-per-click lead, and then they're going to log it that way in the system for us. So that's kind of been our current workaround to be able to track that and to know.
Yeah, if you're using,
Go ahead, Marcus.
if you're using something like CallRail and stuff, and it's not your actual phone system, you can have like a Slack integration, so you get these messages letting you know that happened, and then go back into your CRM. But like if your VoIP can track it right in there, then you have the pop-up like you said, Tim.
Yep, that's worked pretty good for us.
Back to the original question, like, so for every marketing source we have possible, we have a tracking number, always a tracking number.
Through CallRail.
Yeah, through
Right.
CallRail, UTM parameters, unique landing pages, etc. So and so that way, and also too, and this is beyond my pay grade, but this I know we have this done. So if someone goes to that marketing source unique landing page and they fill out a form, it comes into our CRM and the leads updated to where that thing came from. As well as like we do some pretty we build a lot of back end stuff through open API stuff like that. So we kind of we bring all our data into our company, and we can build out a market ROI report. At the same time, we also have VAs, virtual assistants, that we have assists in updating all this stuff in real time. But for like any company, any size, you're never going to have 100% accurate market ROI. It's impossible. You just try to get as close to 100% as possible. Our rule of thumb is if we can get to not at least 90, at the minimum 90 and above, we can make good decisions on that information. So the goal is always at least 90% and above accuracy, and we can make good decisions because there's nothing worse than throwing darts. And then we're looking at lead volume. We're looking at cost per conversion. We're looking at acquisition costs. We're looking at all these things so we know how to allocate the marketing budget dollars around. And we always try to, we don't mind trying new things. We always try to test things for at least 90 days, and then we'll tweak the marketing budget, marketing spend. It's even better if you have somebody that actually manages this, where they can actually allocate your. I'll tell you something right now. I know for a fact, Mover Marketing AI, they can run your entire marketing budget through like 7 or 10 different things and actually manage the spend and move it around for you. You're thinking. So if you're a smaller company, you're looking for someone that manages at a high level. I know them boys can do it versus like some of us who are larger, who can do a lot of this stuff internally, you know.
You mentioned a really good thing. So Eric was talking about moving money around depending on like what's working and what time of year it is. I think that and we used to do this. All right. So if this is the way you do it, don't worry about it. But we used to take and set up our marketing budget in the beginning of the year based on projections, right? So if we wanted to do a certain number, by the end of the year, realistic projection, we would say, hey, well, we want to spend, 5 to 7%, whatever the number was. We'd allocate that money, and we split it up evenly across the whole year, right? Which a lot of times you're wasting advertising dollars if you're doing it that way, right? Because during the busy season, there's probably waste, right? You're probably spending too much on digital, and you're running into like capacity issues. Like you're already booked up, you're turning away moves, but you're still running your advertising wide open. All right. But what you really want to do is you want to treat that like a hot stove, right? So you want to be moving those funds around, and you need somebody, whether it's you and you're wearing that hat at this point, or whether you're going to hire somebody to do that, or get a VA to do that, is also can be a great option if you know how to source one. But in the summertime, you're probably going to bring your spend down, right? You're only going to spend your advertising on the things that bring you the biggest and the best jobs. So PPC might bring you a little bit smaller jobs, mailers, and like referrals. If you have like a referral network where you're paying out and those types of things, those are going to bring you bigger jobs. That's where you want to be putting those dollars. But what that does is if you're able to lower during the busy season, not spend as much, right? So not overspending, and then you save those dollars for the slow season. And now we're going to spend them in the slow season, and we're going to maintain market share. We're going to keep our guys moving. We're not going to lose our guys over the slow season. We don't have to create as much, BS work for the guys to do that, just creates non-billable hours, and you're paying out too much.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing for us. Like we this is the great thing about data and forecasting, having trends. Like we know the lead volumes we need to hit in order to bring in the projected revenue we need to bring in, And that's actually a challenge for us right now. It's actually challenging to get the lead. Our closing ratios are great, but it's challenging to get the lead volume to try to hit our revenue goals. And that goes in like one of the most powerful things we're doing right now that I know a lot of companies are doing well. And if you're not doing this, you should, is some of the old school grassroots cold outreach stuff, pound the pavement, establishing relationships.
It's becoming huge now.
It's becoming huge.
It's real. Everybody needs to start doing this stuff.
If you're not doing that, it's only a matter of time before you might not be around,
Yeah, and you think about that. Your sales reps, especially like in the slow season when they've got if you got an outside sales rep who's going and just doing on-sites and that's their whole job, and they've only got 1 or 2 estimates a day. There's no reason that they can't be meeting with real estate agents, buying them lunch. Going and a lot of real estate companies will allow you to come in and present your company, especially if like you're a local company. You can go in there, you can bring donuts, you can bring some swag, just tell everybody about what you do and leave them with some nice things. Just start making those relationships. So,
and one of the best one of the simplest, best cold outreach marketing source you can do is direct mail. That's what direct mail is. Direct mail is cold outreach to people who are actually moving, to a mass audience. I mean, like, it's besides SEO, it's still to this day Works' #1 lead source.
It's our #1 as well.
Oh, it's your #1 as well.
Yeah. So it's usually these days around 35% of all of our clients still come from direct mail.
But at the same time, like, it's not just having a postcard. It's having the right postcard. Or with any marketing, like you can't, like the saying goes, you can have the best marketing in the world, but you can't dress up a turd. So you got to have a good presence online. You can't have like a 3.1 rating on Google. You can't have an ugly looking website. Like you got to have like a good presentation.
So it's synergy that they all work together. Sometimes when I hear about or do consulting for companies who really haven't hit their stride in their mail campaign, those are the things that we dig into and find out is like, okay, either you don't have enough reviews for people to really take you seriously, or your rating isn't that good, or because if they get your mailer, they're gonna go to your website, right? So they're gonna check you out. Most people they're gonna go on the website, check it out, check out some reviews and stuff like that. It all works together and it's all synergy. And if it all looks really nice, great amount of reviews, a good rating, website looks very professional. It's not like stock photos. No stock photos on your mailer, no stock photos on your website, right? You want to have a photographer, go out, take pictures, with your guys and your trucks and like a real customer's house with a happy customer, and use that type of stuff, that real stuff. That's what people want to see this day and age.
Yeah, like on our postcards, for example, we have real photos, professional photography taken. We have great value propositions. We show 5-star reviews. We have 3 enticing coupon offers, and then we also we have call to actions. We have the tracking phone number. We have a QR code call to action, but we also entice customers to go to scan that QR code in our postcard as well. And one of the reasons why we do that is because we can put additional offers on that landing page. A landing page can be updated in real time. So for example, we can run like seasonal offers. We can add like free storage, whatever. Like, so I have 3 standard offers that never change because like a postcard takes longer to change than, for example, a landing page. And I'm enticing that customer to go to that, to scan that QR code and to see even more additional offers through like a little upsell sentence, like something that entices the curiosity. And then also too, when they go to land on that landing page, our pixel gets them. And then all my digital ads and social ads follow them around too. So like with one mailer, I'm able to touch a customer 5 to 7 times. And if anyone knows anything about like marketing 101, it usually takes 7. And Nick, you can probably tell me if I'm BS or not. It usually takes 7 to 10 touches to get a customer to engage with you to become a lead. So we can knock out 5 to 7 of those touches with one freaking postcard, the way we do it.
All right, John Ferguson, what is the best routine and frequency for sending postcards, letters? How do you best set it up? Wait, do this? Yeah,
you wanna-
let's split it.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna let you say how to best set it up, but I will say daily. All right. So first of all, if you're in the mail game, you need to be mailing daily. You want to mail to new listings and pendings, and USA also has coming soon now, don't they?
Yeah, and I can explain that more in depth.
Yeah. So, but you want to do it every single day, or at least 5 days a week, and then on Monday you catch up over the weekend. But Eric, I'm gonna let you take it from there.
So, first of all, it's about having quality data. All right. So, and for any of you who don't know, I took over. I partnered with Greg and took over as CEO right around December of 2023. So it's about having quality data. So right away, USA Home Listings already filters out a ton of useless data. You're not getting foreclosures. You're not getting new construction. You're not getting land. You're not getting like if you're around water, you're not getting boat slips for sale. All that stuff is all being taken out. Foreclosures, all that stuff. They have new listings, they have pendings or / under contract, they have coming soon. So every market's a little bit different on coming soon. So anybody who sees coming soon, they notice there's not a lot of data. About 85% of your time, your coming soon is going to be new construction. Well, we already filter that out. That's why you don't see a lot of things show up on coming soon, because what's the point of mailing new construction? No one lives there. No one's ever lived there. You're mailing to nothing. So we already filter all that because we're not about spending useless money for you. Also, too, in some market MLSs, beyond new construction, they don't recognize a coming soon the way it does in some markets. So you're still getting coming soons, but some MLSs in some states identify that as a new listing. So you'll still be mailing to those things that are very, very brand new. It's just like you don't see them because in some state MLSs, they only recognize new construction only as coming soon. So every market's different. Some of you will see it on there, some of you won't. There's that right there.
All right. So, and then also the reason you want to send to new listings and pendings and maybe even coming soon, we'll probably start doing that soon, is again, because Eric says you need to touch people a number of times before they make a decision. So when a house goes, it goes up for sale, right? So it's a new listing. They're going to get your postcard, but they're probably not ready for it yet. But they see your branding and they toss it in the trash most likely, unless they already, have a deal like the first couple of days. But what happens is then they get a deal and then you send them the next postcard. That one holds much more weight than the second one. So a lot of times in the mail game, I shouldn't say a lot of times, all the time, it's going to pick up steam over time. So if you start, I really think it takes 6 to 8 weeks to really start seeing some good results. And it continues to build over time. Sometimes we get calls from people that we sent a mailer to and they were sitting on it for a month and a half, 2 months. And it's like, what in the world? I don't understand. They must have just hung on to it or something like that. But they got multiple mailers from us. Now, Eric, the last piece of John's question here, I want you to dig into this a little bit. He asks how you set it up. And in USA, you guys can mail out directly from USA. But you guys use different campaigns for different like home prices and some of those different things like that. So you'll run you can run as many as you want these days, can't you? Different campaigns?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, in the automated system, you can set up 1,000 different campaigns with 1,000 different mail pieces if you want. Like it works right now. We run 6 different campaigns, and because we have like the advanced filtering options at USA now, you can get very, very granular with your campaigns. So like our market's very wide. All right. So we'll mail different things to like counties and zip codes within like a certain mile radius as close to our office, because the operational cost to service those jobs are less than it would be, say, a job that's like 40 miles away. So I may do lower home values in a market close to my office and do higher home values for bigger jobs out there. Yeah, and we'll change this around like several times a year based on like what our data is telling us. Right now we're wide open because I wanted to substantially decrease, or I shouldn't say me, Allison, who's our CEO, wanted to substantially decrease a lot of the money we were spending in like Google Guarantee and PPC. So like, well, we're going to mail more. So right now we're wide open across every campaign we do. And so a good rule of thumb for some people is no matter what market you're in, to start is what home value is someone most likely to hire a mover versus do it yourself.
Yeah.
Start there. That could be $250,000 in some markets. it could be 500,000 plus in some markets. Depends where you're at in the country. Every market's different. So that's a good rule of thumb for any market you're in. I want to say I would probably imagine that like the home value could probably be maybe a little bit less in your market than it is in mine,
For sure.
versus like the home value of someone who's going to hire a mover would be a lot less in mine than versus like say Los Angeles or San Francisco.
And then also going back to like changing your marketing throughout the year. In the winter time, we'll run almost wide open. We'll mail to like $100,000 house and up. We just mail to everything all winter long. But in the summertime, we want to control our customer more. We want those higher end clients. We might bring it up to 300, 350, which may sound low depending on where you are in the United States, but you can get a pretty nice house in Ohio, like for 300, 350,000.
Yeah, and also too, another reason, like one of the things, like so through our automated system, we run it through the NCOA and CAS system, so the addresses are verified. And one of the things that we recently changed was because people who are doing self-mailing through our portal were having like some returns, so we changed how we had the CAS system around. So now like if the addresses that come in USA, if they're not verified through the CAS system, they're not verified addresses, they don't even show up. So we're just constantly trying to add value to you guys. And I'll tell you something that's amazing that we have coming that right now works is my moving company's beta testing. So remember we talked about cold outreach, all right? And we're already beta testing this and having amazing results with it. So we're going to start offering you guys not only the homeowners but the current residents as well, because sometimes the person living in that house and the homeowner are not the same person, not that often, but sometimes. And then also whoever's currently reside in the house, we're going to provide you their emails and phone numbers, the realtors who are selling that house and their contact information, their email, phone number, and the address, as well as the agency that realtor works for is their phone numbers, emails, and address.
Hey, Eric, do you want to show that? I can pull it up on the screen if you want to show some stuff.
No, absolutely. So let me show you what this is going to look like.
Also, while he's, go ahead.
So this is just the front layout, and of course, when you download the spreadsheet, a little bit different. But like right now, this is it's going to be a tier subscription. So tier 1 is like the legacy information. It's always been the homeowners' names and all the information. And one of the things we're going to be adding on top of tier 1 is the current resident. As you can see, the owner and the current resident are the same person. And probably 8 times out of 10, that's going to be the case. And now we're having, and so you see some records there that don't have any information. And this is where we get into the legality side of this, is that those people are already involved or signed up to a do not call, do not solicit list. So you're not going to see their information. And we're not going to give you like 4 different phone numbers, 4 different emails. These are the best phone numbers and the best emails for these people. And they are verified through some very high level data sources through some proprietary systems we have in place. So we're getting this information through property records, loan records, billing records. Like this is as legit as it gets as far as information. And we've been testing this out at Works. And one of the beautiful things about it is we've put together a cold outreach campaign. So we're actually booking appointments and estimates for our sales team before anyone's mailer even gets to them. So we've been having some amazing results.
So let's talk about like how to use this data a little bit, right? So you're booking appointments before your emailer gets to there. So we're kind of curious. I want to know.
Okay.
I know you know me so well. You already know where I'm going with this, but I want to know when you're reaching out. What does that sound like? What are you saying? Like, I mean, because it's kind of like cold calling. I'm sure it sounds scary to a lot of people. Like, what if I want to start mining this data and calling these people? What is the approach that you guys are working on right now?
So like anything else, we have a very we have a script built out for this that's been tested and tweaked a little bit. One of the things that we're thinking about doing, and I kind of got this idea and said, why don't we try a cold call script where we call this company, say, hey, I see you're working with realtor name. You're not saying that the realtor told you to call them. You're just saying, hey, I see you're working with realtor name, but they might just think, hey, oh, the realtor told him to call me.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the script looks like. And like, I'm not like involved with Works right now, but I just know that I just know based on the feedback and the information I'm seeing, we're getting fantastic results with that.
I love that.
But listen to this. Listen to this. So the great thing about this, another reason, like, so we've always had this data. We've just never made it like publicly accessible through to our customers. So a lot of the things that we do internally, as far as like the social digital targeting through USA, is utilizing this data. Okay. But the great thing about this data now is you now can, if you're large enough, take this data and create your own outreach campaigns, create your own social digital marketing campaigns, however you want to do this. As far as like having information to build relationships with like these real estate agencies, these realtors, but also too, like, you'd be amazed at the powerful things that Mover Marketing AI can do with these campaigns, because not only can USA do some stuff, there's stuff that Mover Marketing AI can do that they're actually doing for at Works Move and Storage, since obviously I gave myself access to this data because we're beta testing this stuff, that you guys might be finding very, very interesting. And if I were you, I would also reach out to them as well.
I know a lot of people are feeling like when they hear the word cold calling, their back goes up and they're getting goosebumps. They don't want to do it. So listen, if that cold calling, if you don't have the staff to do it, you don't have the VAs to do it, you don't feel comfortable doing it, we can set up customized outreach campaigns to the realtor, to the residents. That way you don't have to do the cold calling. It's being done for you. We do really cool things with AI to customize those outreach campaigns. So each touch point is getting a different message based on the information we have on them. So this is really super powerful stuff. Really happy USA is launching this awesome new data. Like, honestly, the best data in the industry. We're happy to be working with it. We have an exclusive partnership with USA. Super happy to be able to take that data, benefit your company, get those leads to you at a much lower cost. So.
And Marcus, go ahead, because you're just seeing a front face. Go ahead and show like what a spreadsheet looks like when they download.
Yep.
For those who want to download the spreadsheet too, it's overkill, guys. Every piece of data you can possibly want. So remember when I talked about before about how with direct mail, like, it works, we can knock out 5 to 7 touch points. With all this now, I swear to God, we're touching the customer probably like 12 to 15 times. Like, they can't escape us. This is the type of stuff right here that if people capitalize on it, it's going to separate you from everybody else. Like, your competitors just are not going to stand a chance.
I love the idea of doing both, right? So I'm always about like maximizing everything. Like, I want to have, when this is available and when I get it, and I can't wait till I get all this data, I'm gonna have them do their thing with it. But I'm also going to have my people mine this list, with a script. And we're definitely going to use the realtor thing that you said. We're going to mention, I see you're working with. I love that a lot.
Yeah.
And then I think
we haven't tested it yet. That was just an idea I just recently had.
I think you always want to have a reason for calling somebody as well. So the other thing that I would probably say if you're writing a script is to let the customer know that, hey, just so you know, we sent you something in the mail. It should be showing up in a day or two. And of course, you're talking about your mailer. We've got some coupons coming your way. And you can be really light touch with this stuff. You don't have to like go in for the kill. You don't have to get you're touching the customer. You're being friendly. You're letting them know that you sent them a mail piece, which was friendly. Some of these are going to turn into conversations. You don't have to be like super closer right out of the bat on it. I don't think you should be that scared about the cold calling. These conversations are going to go.
You just reminded me, Tim. Thank you for saying that, because that I don't know what the current script is now, but like part of that current script they're running now is mentioning that, hey, you're going to be getting a mail piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Somewhere in there. I wish I should have told Allison, but I didn't think about it.
No.
All right. So anybody has? Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's so many great opportunities here for like building however your brand wants to outreach to people. If you don't want to call them and you want to do something else, like for example, you get a $100 discount coupon, you send it to the realtor, you tell them the house that they're selling and put their client's name on it and say, if you'd like to provide this to your client, here's a coupon from you. And you can automate all that, and then you're providing value, you're building your network, and they feel like you know them because you're using all the names that they're working with. It's a different experience than just saying, hey, I'm Works Moving, you're like talking about their clients' names and their addresses, and they're like, okay, like somebody knows somebody. I better, listen to this guy.
Yeah. I can't wait to get this
Oh,
stuff.
by the way, Marcus, if you want to show a QR code, so guys, we can show you a QR code. You can sign up, and you'll be the first ones to know the minute this is available.
So if you have any questions about direct mail or marketing, we're getting ready to go ahead and to move it. We're just going to talk about sales for just a couple minutes. We want to keep this moving. We know everybody's probably got barbecues and stuff to get to today.
I know we do.
Yeah, I know we do. We're going to cook a whole bunch of hot dogs. Eric and I got like $3,000 worth of fireworks that we're going to set off. We're going to try and not blow our fingers off today. We're going to go swimming. It's going to be an awesome day. But anyways, just to move into talk a little bit about sales. Again, if you're going to be spending money and energy in marketing, you've got to have a great sales process, right? So everybody needs to have a sales process. Here's the biggest thing is you can't be missing phone calls, and you can't have your leads sitting for more than just a couple minutes.
3 to
all
5,
right.
right?
Yeah. 3 to 5 minutes. And man, the further I go along, the more I see that it's more like 3 minutes. Let's go ahead and get in this question real quick. Harry Yadav, do you use phone consultants to handle inbound calls, or are all calls sent to Move consultants? So for my companies, all of our phone calls, all of our sales calls all come through Movebees. And we have, they're all professionally trained sales consultants that are on the phone there. They're going to answer those phone calls, and they're going to ask a series of questions to find out whether they can sell that customer right then, or whether they need to schedule it for one of my on-site reps to go. So that's how we handle it. So anyways, back to talking about sales and sales process is number one. Yeah, you got to answer every phone call. Leads can't sit for more than 3 to 5 minutes, maximum. But then you need a process on how are we going to handle these leads when they come in? How are we going to handle these phone calls when they come in? If a lead comes in and you just call it and email it once, that is not sufficient. We're still doing the CMET 2+1 or CMET 3+1. Which means every time we reach out to a lead, we're going to call them, we're going to leave a message, we're going to send them an email, and we're going to text them every single time. So there's 4 touches every single time that we reach out to a client. And I figure, after the 3rd or 4th time that you've done that, if you're not soliciting a response out of them, it's better to move on and get to the next lead as far as that goes. Now, once you actually get a customer on the phone, it's really important for your salespeople. Number one, you need to start with a script. Over time, your sales consultants might be only using 70 or 80% of the script, and they're inserting a lot of their own verbiage, the way that they talk, and I think that that's great, and I think that they should. But everybody should start with a script. But what is really important, and where a lot of sales consultants lose it, especially over the phone and on virtuals, is they don't maintain control. So throughout the sales process, you don't want to have the customer on the phone and be like, okay, tell me what you're moving, and let them start shotgunning to you stuff. So number one, you lose control of the sale, right? So now the customer's in control. Anytime they're in control, your closing ratio goes down. Number two, your estimate accuracy is not going to be what it needs to be. So your sales consultant, the way that we do it at Movebees is we say, we want you to go to the master bedroom, and we're going to do this room by room. And we get the inventory in the master bedroom. Then we go, through the rest of the bedrooms. Then we, do living rooms, kitchen, garage, outdoor. And then we ask all of the other questions that we're going to ask. Now, after you do an estimate and you've controlled the sale the whole way through, of course, you want to ask for the sale at that point. And if the customer says no, hey, there's 3 or 4 reasons why people, generally say, that they're not ready to make a decision. And that's because they either want to talk to their spouse, or they're getting multiple quotes. There's not often that you get a really uncommon, one. Sometimes they're waiting for, the closing date. So they just don't have their date yet. So really, you don't need to have 20 rebuttals written up, right? You need 3 or 4. You need 3 or 4 in a couple different ways to say those top 3 or 4 rebuttals. And if you try that and it still doesn't work, then that's okay. but you need a follow-up process, right? So you need to have a schedule of how you're going to follow up with that customer, how many different times you're going to follow up with that customer. We generally follow up at least 5 times in different ways. I mean, the very first one is like right after we get off the phone with them, we shoot them a little text. It's just, hey, it was so nice talking to you today. Really appreciated your time, and it was great working with you. Any questions, just let me know. That's touch number 1. John Ferguson, he says, Tim, concerning Movebees, how do you never miss a call? How big is your staff and what hours are they working? So I'm not going to say that we never miss a call. It can happen, on a Monday or a Tuesday. It is very rare that we miss a call because the admin will jump in. Our CSRs, if we'll pick up an overflow and get it started and then pass it over. It's not common, but I'm not going to say that we absolutely never ever miss a phone call, but it's few and far between. How big is your staff? We've got about 20 people right now, and the hours that we're currently working are Monday through Friday, 8 to 8 and 8 to 3 on Saturdays. And we're actually getting ready to extend that soon. We're going to be we're going to be open 7 days a week here in the near future. So your sales process, if you're spending money on marketing and you don't have a great sales process, I guarantee you're leaving money on the table. And even if you were to hire a third party like Movebees or one of the others, just to make sure that you're never missing a phone call, I guarantee you're going to make more money. You're going to book more jobs. You're going to set more appointments. We also have just a simple CSR solution. If say, hey, you don't need help with sales. You got a strong sales staff. You feel really confident in them. We can just offer customer service representatives just so you have a backstop to make sure that you're never missing a phone call. And we just charge, by the minute on that. It's super affordable to never miss a phone call. We'll get them on the phone. We'll get all the information that you want to get. We can create leads and shoot them into your CRM, and then your people can reach out. We can do a warrant transfer if you want. So those are some of the ways that we handle those different things.
I'll just piggyback off what you're saying. Going back, we talked about ways to make additional revenue.
Yeah.
Everyone listen to this. If you are missing phone calls, I will bet $1 million you are losing lots of money and lots of opportunity. You can't even imagine the amount. If you're anybody out there that misses phone calls, or for example, if you're an owner who's wearing 15 different hats, like, I can't recommend this guy enough. I mean, heck, even at Works, we're like a high 7, low 8 figure company, and we still use them as an emergency backup. Like, if for some strange reason we don't answer the phone, it goes to them, And regardless if I know Tim or not, like, if Tim didn't do a great job, we sure as heck wouldn't have our phone calls go there. But like, no, just in general, like if you, for example, if you're trying to like really grow your operation to where you can get to the point to where you can actually start bringing sales back, he can be a temporary solution. He can be a permanent solution. But even right there, like the worst thing you can do is miss phone calls.
So we'll do as much or as little as you want. A lot of companies ask us, can you just be our backstop? Absolutely, we'll be your backstop. For my companies, Movebees doesn't sell everything. I let Movebees sell all the 1 truck jobs. If it's anything bigger than a 1 truck job, they schedule an on-site estimate for my on-site estimators. And I think that is the best program. I think it's super important to have on-site estimators in majority of the states. I know sometimes like where you get like inner city, New York, California, stuff like that, it's just super difficult to get places and traffic and, those types of things. But if you're in an area where on-site reps, it's still a thing and people don't mind having people, come to their house, that's always going to be your highest closing ratio. And I would recommend that I think that's the best way to use it. At the end of the year on our profit and loss statement, using Movebees that way only costs us about 2 to 3%, depending on what location it is and, how many on-site sales reps we have. Harry Yadav, what do you do to keep in touch with past customers for the repeat and referral business? So this is not really a Movebees question, but the only thing we're really doing is we work with Timothy over at Moversville to keep in touch with them, and they're getting our monthly newsletter, which are just like value adding newsletters that go out. Are you doing anything above that to keep in touch with?
Yeah, our CRM does stuff. We have emails in our CRM that go out. Like anniversary, whatever you
Yeah,
do. So,
same.
and we
Drip
also utilize Movebees as well.
Okay.
Just a real simple solution. If you want to do it internally, you can there's some pretty amazing things you can do through MailChimp. I mean, heck, even the CRM we use in Moversville utilize MailChimp. They're just basically doing the work for you.
All right, guys. So if there's any more questions on sales or marketing, start shooting them now. And then we're just going to open it up for a few minutes. We'll take a couple questions. They could be about anything that has to do with the moving and storage industry. So Doug Croney has a question. Love the weekend hours coming soon, but do need longer hours for West Coast. Yes. And that's coming as well. So we're gonna be open till at least 8 and maybe 9 or 10 p.m. coming very soon to the West Coast. So we can keep you posted on that if you like, sir. All right. Any questions? We're ready for some questions. Fire them out.
I did have an old question. I'm trying to find it at the moment, but yeah, guys, get your questions because we're nearing the end of the stream. So now is the time.
Doesn't matter what it is.
So we did have a question about the timing issue with movers clocking in, clocking out. How did you deal with that issue, Eric, of the crews leaving at 5:45 when the clock says 5?
At that level, at that much time, I would question someone's working a tip. Someone's purposely billing the customer out early and working a tip.
That's what we found.
Yeah. And like for example, if it's a 15-minute thing or even like a 20-minute thing, that's like, oh hey, that's just poor like logistical management amongst themselves. You know, someone's doing paperwork, their walkthrough wasn't done, the truck's not cleaned up. Like for example, it can take like 15 to 20 minutes to properly clean everything up and put stuff away properly. You know, but it's something at that length, I would question that that's somebody working a tip. Or the only caveat could be to that is that hey, they got it's still kind of working, or they're just like being very, very like way too nice, and they're doing a lot of the excess internal moving, which could also placate to like just trying to be good customer service and or working a tip. But no, anything about you have to have stuff like this in your employee handbook. Like this would be under theft, whether it's theft of an item, theft of money, or theft of service. You know, they're stealing. This is stealing money. So that would be like, honestly, that would be grounds for termination. But like any issue you have with somebody, and like this is where we've been guilty of this in the past, so we're not guilty anymore. You have to address issues immediately. You have to hold people accountable immediately. You don't got to yell. You don't got to raise your voice. Like you have to like when you hold people accountable, it's like they're not meeting the standard. They're not capitalizing up. The reason we're having this conversation right now is because they're like, and you have it in black and white, you know, and like Tim and I have talked about this. Like, I know he's real big on like holding people accountable immediately, addressing the issue immediately, like we are. I don't do this personally, but my team at Works does it very, very well. And one of the reasons why we do it really, really well is because at some point in time we didn't do it well, and we had major consequences in a very poor culture because we didn't do this well. The quickest way to a toxic culture and things just falling apart is letting things go, letting things like this go. At the same time, if you as an owner, if you're doing this or your managers are doing this, and like one of the mistakes a lot of owners make is they got managers that they know need to be holding people accountable to this, and then they're not holding their managers accountable to them holding their staff under them accountable. At the end of the day, guys, if you're not holding people accountable to things like this, 100% your fault. You got no one else to blame but you.
One thing I'll say is we've covered a lot of ground today, and if you're listening to all this and you're like, man, there's so many things that I need to change. I need to go back and like change my whole company. That is not the approach, right? So it's just chipping away, right? So one thing that we can change, you know, this quarter, one thing that we can change next quarter. You know, you don't need to change your whole company all at once, but it's a continuous thing. Like we're never going to arrive. Our companies are never going to be perfect. The market is always changing. There's always something that you can do to do better. But choose one or two things that we talked about maybe here today, and just start working on those one or two things, and put the other things on a list and get to them when you get through these. All right, Chris has got another question. How do you guys implement the employee handbook? Are you using digital version or old-fashioned binder style? So Eric, I'll share what we do, and I definitely want to hear what you guys do. So we have both. We found we hand them to every mover when we hire them. We ask them to read it, and then we actually ask them to sign it. So they have to sign it and turn it in so they understand everything. They understand how we operate, how they get paid, what the expectations are, bonus, like vacation, like all of that stuff is laid out in a simple format for them to be able to understand. Now we also have a compliance manual that keeps us 100% compliant, that it just looks very like legal, like written by lawyers and stuff like that. And that's really more on the HR side. We have that, everybody gets that as well. But we do have a digital copy, but we use the paper copy, hand them one, and then we also get them to sign one and turn it back in.
Yeah, exact same thing for us, digital and paper. The thing is though, is that we're big fans of, like, when it comes to stuff like this, DocuSign. So we have ours signed through our DocuSign platform when it comes to like internal documentation. It's a platform we like. And then like Tim says, HR handles all this stuff for us. Oh, and by the way, when you're addressing issues, when you're addressing things with staff that go against company protocol, that's not standard, that's basically a no-no, you always revert back to the employee handbook or wherever these manuals are or wherever these policies are, and you constantly show it to them. Verbal and visual. Remember, verbal, visual. You always do that.
And also, you just reminded me of something. That's another reason, to have core values and to have them on the wall and to talk about those at, all your company meetings and stuff like that and go over in them, because when it comes time to manage people, like Eric was saying, you could take somebody to the employee handbook and show them again, like you see, now you see, you signed this, I'm assuming that you read it. Your core values would also be there. They will also be on the wall, but you can point to those core values and manage, like if it's integrity, like, hey, the way that you handle the situation, clocking out early, like there's an integrity problem there, and that does not align with our core values. And I just want to point that back out to you. So they're really helpful to manage with.
Yeah, we always revert back to our core values too. Core values are what I like most about having core values is they help you make really hard decisions. They help keep yourself accountable. Like Tim says, when you're addressing issues with people, like, hey, this doesn't align with this, or hey, you ask them a question. Hey, do you think what you did here aligns with integrity? Or do you we keep it simple. We have 3 core values at work. So that's extreme ownership, integrity, and altruism. And altruism is selfless service. It's basically the complete opposite of being selfish. So we do that as well. And then when you got to make hard decisions as an owner, like with anything in your company, it's like, hey, does this decision that I want to make align with our core values? And like, I know me personally, like reverting back to the core values for myself usually help hard decisions that I have to make as a leader or as an owner a lot easier, or to help me walk through things.
Nick, will you put that question back up? Do you know of a good inventory management system for a warehouse? We use the one in Smart Moving, where it works really well for us, keeping, track of all of our vaults and, OS pieces and all that type of stuff.
When you say, is that like talking about just vault management?
Yeah.
Is it inventory system or inventory system across the board?
Does Smart Moving allow you to actually have the list of inventory with pictures and stuff like that?
I'll be completely honest with you. Like we're currently using Smart Moving, but Movebees has a standalone warehouse management app that's hands down. Like you can use any CRM and you actually use this app. It's probably right now, hands down, the best warehouse inventory management system in existence at this moment.
Yeah.
So also Smart Moving, Nick, to answer your question, and maybe if that's kind of what he was wanting to know, is Smart Moving is actually coming out with the digital inventory here very soon. Yeah. Okay. So it's already in beta. Everybody's gonna be seeing it. Really good. Can you throw up that other question that you had about leads? Is 15 to 20 new leads per salesperson per day still what you look for when seeing if you need to hire additional sales staff? Is it justifiable to bring on someone to handle 6 or 8 new leads? All right, so Yes and no. It depends on what the leads are, right? So if you're purchasing a lot of leads, you got a lot of Equate Media leads, mover.com, movie.com, all that type of stuff. Then yeah, 15 to 20 might be sufficient, because you're going to have some that are dead, some that you can't contact, and out of that you're not going to have that many like really good workable leads. Now, if a lot of the leads are like organic, they're coming from mailers, repeat, referral, or whatever, 6 to 8 is a really good day if they're good leads. So it really depends on your mix of leads. In Movebees, we treat it that way too, because it depends on the client and what type of leads that they're getting. And we decide, at that point, like how we're going to divvy it up to the team that is dedicated to that client, how many leads each person is going to get per day. So it can vary. It depends on the types of leads that you're getting. Jonathan Fassick, what would you implement first, guys, if you were a smaller, under $1 million company? The mailer with the pixel is an interesting idea to me. Thanks for the info. I'll throw that to you, Eric.
When we were small, I would say you want like instantaneous like stuff that's gonna bring you in business. Like for example, like I wouldn't be doing like SEO. You want to do it eventually. You have to, because it's a long-term place. You want like instant gratification type lead sources. Like I hate to say this, but like, so if I'm opening up a brand new location or I'm a small location, I'm doing direct mail, Google guarantee, and probably like maybe not PPC now. But you would ask me this question like a couple of years ago, direct mail, Google guarantee, PPC, to get the phones ringing right away. That's what I'm doing. And then the pixel is so there's no confusion. The pixel is something you can put on a website or a landing page. Like we have a social digital pixel on every single page in existence on our website. So no matter and that's for like ads following them around and retargeting type purposes. So no matter where they go on our website, the pixel gets them, and then our ads start following them around. So you can't put an actual pixel on a mail piece. I can put a QR code on a mail piece that sends them to a landing page where the pixel can then grab them on that. But no, as a newer company, I'm going to, as far as like what I can do right away, direct mail, Google guarantee. I hate to say PPC, but like it's still kind of decent in some markets. It's just not good in mine right now, or like some direct social digital stuff. And also too, like what Tim and I were talking about earlier, cold outreach or pound the pavement, build relationships. It's never been more important in this day and age, in this economic environment, in the marketing industry, with building those relationships with your community, realtors, anybody that can bring you business,
Yeah, I would say you got to focus on having a great website. Make sure you're getting the guys in uniforms, lots of photos, letting the people know who you guys are. Foundational SEO, and then like really invest in getting reviews, like Google reviews. That's how you build your Google Maps up. That's how you get this on reoccurring leads, phone calls. Those are always like the best leads too, from directly from the maps. And you don't have to compete against everybody in your area. You're just like in a smaller 10-mile radius. But work on the reviews. Like instead of getting backlinks and spending money there, get your guys incentivized to get 5-star reviews.
Yeah, 100%. What is the number? What's the number? Is it like you need at least your first 20 reviews for Google to like recognize you at some level, Marcus?
20 to 30, but every market's different, and like there's really a math algorithm. If like we do a competitor report, you could just call us up and say, hey, we're located here. This is our Google business profile. And I can kind of tell you how many reviews you need, how many you need to get each month to stay relevant and to hit the top 3.
Yeah. So what I was talking about was more like just in general on the marketing side. And then what Marcus brought up was absolutely valuable too. Like that's something simple that your guys can do right away. Like get 5-star reviews, brother.
All right. We got a question from Christian Santos. Will Movebees sales team work better with my own smart moving CRM setup or with their own sales process without using a CRM? So Christian, we're smart moving specialists. Majority of our clients at Movebees are on smart moving. So we definitely want to work in your smart moving CRM if you're working with us. However, we may help you build it out a little bit. A lot of clients, when they come on with us, it's not fully built out to really compute everything the way that we need. So it's foolproof and it spits out the exact numbers that we want every time. We'll spend the time to help you get it exactly computing exactly how we want every time before we ever sell for your company. Hopefully that answers. Got time for one or two more questions. Reagan Weiss, what's up, dude? Are you requiring your staff to engage in community efforts to give the company you work for around the clock marketing?
Yes, very recently. It was something that us at Works was definitely falling short on. It was definitely brought up to our attention, and we're maybe not to the level where it needs to be, but it's definitely going in that direction. And it's something we just started doing on as somewhat of a system, I'd say literally in the past couple of weeks when it comes to social media side and that community engagement.
Yeah, gotcha. So I wouldn't say that we have a program for it or like there's a requirement, but it's just something that we do. We, here in Wayne County, we have Wayne County, Ohio, we have something called 180, and it's for like battered women, and they need to be like moved out of bad situations or from maybe a shelter to a new apartment that's being set up for them. So we do those types of things, and we also work with another charity called Care and Share. So we're looking for opportunities, and then we do a lot of just like one-off opportunities where maybe somebody's in a bad situation, whether it's a health thing or somebody passed away or something like that, where we'll just go out there and we'll just do some pro bono work in our community. By
the way, guys, if you're looking to heavily get involved and utilize things like that, the gentleman who asked that question, Reagan Weiss, is actually one of the best in the business when it comes to doing things like that. And you can actually find him on Facebook. It's not hard. He runs under a company called 43 Inc. He's helped me. I had some great conversations with him, but if you're looking to really do that and do that right, he can definitely consult with you on that. He has packages he can give you, and I can definitely stake my reputation around that man and the value he can bring you if you choose to go in directions like that.
Yeah. All right. More questions?
We just have one more question.
All right. Last one. All right, Harry, welcome back. Have you started diversifying into logistics, white glove delivery, and warehousing to bring stability? That seems to be the end state of the very large moving outfits. So we're not doing logistics. When you talk about white glove delivery, I'm assuming maybe you're talking about like last mile or final mile delivery. We don't do any of that. I know some great companies that are doing some of those things and doing well with it. I could probably even connect you with if you needed. Now the warehousing thing, yes, we are doing some commercial warehousing. We've got like city contracts and stuff like that for if the city needs to store stuff. In Columbus, we got lucky enough they're replacing all of the water meters in the whole city of Columbus. And they've contracted warehouses all over Columbus to store these things. And it's like a 6-year project. And we're storing hundreds and hundreds of them. And they're paying us, per square foot, and they're buying valuation on them. So it's been very lucrative. So much so that we've been purchasing racking and throwing it up in our warehouse just so we want as much of it as we can get just to fill space.
Yeah, we are not doing things like that. I don't get involved in things I don't understand. Is when it comes to the whole logistics stuff and final mile stuff. The two people, and probably the same people Tim's thinking of that I know that do it well, lost a ton of money in the beginning to learn how to do it well.
Yeah,
so
it's a big learning curve.
So I would just say, unless like they just happen to be outliers, I would say that like probably anybody who's looking to get into something like that, they have some pretty big financial pain points they go through. But the two gentlemen I'm talking about, they do it very, very well now, but there was a big price tag to pay to learn to gain that information and knowledge.
So two things, it's a big learning curve. And then you're also going to be dealing, it's fine margins on final mile and logistics. And you're also dealing with like net 30, net 45, net 60. So you might be waiting a while to get paid on some of that stuff. So if you decide to get into that, just keep that in mind. It might take a little while to learn it and to start making money. Was there another question you had up there real quick, Nick? No.
Oh, just a comment from Reagan.
Thanks, Reagan.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody, this has been fantastic. I know I had a lot of fun. This was good. First time doing this. I'm sure we'll do other things like this in the future. Have a great 4th of July weekend. Don't blow your fingers off. We're going to try not to blow our fingers off. I'm going to go eat about 6 hot dogs and a bunch of junk food.
Yeah,
today,
and make
so.
sure if you get a chance, give everyone give a thank you to Marcus and Nick. Like everything that looks pretty and fancy that's in it, how this is run smooth. Like none of this would have been possible without them two. Because this is I've done a lot of things like this. This is one of the most professional like settings I've ever been on, and trust me, we didn't give these guys a lot of notice. So it kind of puts a level of like what their talent is. They put this together really, really quickly, and they did a fantastic job. So make sure you all thank them as well.
Yeah, thanks, Marcus. Thanks,
Thank
Nick.
you guys.
Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Tim.
it. Everybody
Thanks,
have a
everybody, for coming,
Have a great
and,
weekend. Thank you all.
Have a
Appreciate
great
you.
weekend.